Princess Arya's screams echoed in the ship as the sadistic Kryn raiders slaughtered her guards. Yet no one came to save her, except a lone human doctor. Smoke wafted through the bustling Zeta 9 trade station as Fenris, a grizzled Pakled Starlane veteran, leaned over his meal. "Hear about Princess Arya?" Fenris grunted. His younger associate Zorax shook his head. "Kryn raiders attacked her diplomatic ship in the Orion sector," Fenris explained. "Killed her guards, took her hostage." Zorax gasped. "Did anyone rescue her?" "She sent distress calls everywhere. No one helped. Kryn are brutal. Even the galactic peacekeepers claimed they were too far." "But how'd she escape?" Zorax asked. Fenris smiled wryly. "One ship answered. The UHS Nightingale, a human medical frigate, Dr. Jake Hunter commanding." Fenris took a swig of his drink. "See, the Kryn inject captives with incurable bioweapons. Make 'em suffer. Princess Arya, last of her royal line, would die in agony without treatment." Zorax's eyes widened. "So the human doctor is her only hope," Fenris finished. "I hear Hunter's a genius with alien biology, but one human versus the Kryn? Arya's fate and the future of her people depend on him." Zorax shuddered, realizing the immense stakes. Failure meant a horrible death for the princess and the fall of her civilization. Only Dr. Hunter stood in the way of catastrophe. Zorax leans forward, eyes wide. "A human doctor? That's crazy. What did he do?" Fenris takes a swig of his drink, relishing the tale. Reports say Doc Hunter's ship was already in the area, handling some medical issue on a nearby colony. Then Princess Arya's SOS comes in. He doesn't even blink, orders his crew to beeline it to her coordinates, no questions asked. His people were freaking out, saying they're just medics, not fighters, that their ships got pea shooters for weapons. But the doc wouldn't hear it, said he couldn't ignore someone screaming for help. Fenris pauses to gulp down more of his beverage, really getting into the story now. So the Nightingale shows up to find the princess's ship just floating there, completely dark. Kryn raider craft all around it. Doc Hunter hails them, demands they hand over Arya and her crew right now. Kryn captain basically spits in his face, tells him to piss off while he still can. But the doc doesn't back down. Bluffs that he's got serious pull with the Galactic Council. Says if the Kryn hurt one hair on Arya's head, the Council will bring the hammer down on him. Zorax's mouth falls open in shock. Damn, that took guts. Kryn ain't exactly known for bluffing. Fenris nods, a huge grin on his face. Totally. But here's the kicker. While the doc's jawing at the Kryn, his crew's scanning the raider ships for any chinks in the armor. And what do you know? They find out the Kryn's life support is real susceptible to some special radiation frequency. So without any warning, the Nightingale just blasts the raiders with the stuff, knocks out their life support systems just like that. Zorax sucked in a breath. What, they actually fired on a medical ship? Fenris nodded, stuffing another forkful of food in his mouth. Those Kryn don't mess around, but old Doc Hunter had some tricks. Soon as the raiders let loose those missiles, he ordered his crew to fill the sky with all sorts of fake signals and ghost ships. Confused the hell out of the Kryn targeting. Their missiles flew everywhere except at the Nightingale. "Damn," Zorax whistled. "Quick thinking." "You're telling me." So there the doc was, staring down a bunch of pissed-off Kryn with busted life support. He gets on the comms, cool as ice, and gives them an ultimatum. Release the princess and her people, or he'll let them choke on their own stale air. Gave a 5-minute deadline. Zorax shook his head incredulously. The balls on this human. Standing up to Kryn raiders in an unarmed medical frigate, no less. What did those bastards do? A smirk played on Fenris's lips. Only thing they could do, they folded like a cheap spacesuit, dumped the princess and her crew in a shuttle and blasted off with their tails between their legs. Doc welcomed the VIPs aboard, and his med teams went to work patching them up. "Unbelievable," Zorax murmured. "Wish I could have seen the look on that Kryn captain's face." Fenris chuckled. "I'll bet. Story gets even better, though. Princess Arya was so grateful she tried to reward the doc, offered him a king's ransom in credits and favors. You know what that crazy human said?" "What?" Zorax asked, leaning forward. "Turned it down flat. Said he appreciated the offer, but he was just doing his duty. As a doctor and a human, whatever that means. Can you believe it? Zorax whistled, shaking his head in disbelief. I've never heard of a Kryn captain just giving up like that. This Dr. Hunter must be one persuasive human. Fenris leaned back, a satisfied grin on his face. Damn right he is. The princess couldn't stop singing his praises the whole trip back to Earth. Said she'd never met anyone with such courage and compassion. What did the folks back home think of him bringing an alien royal aboard? Zorax asked, curiosity getting the better of him. Oh, they ate it up, Fenris exclaimed. The media hailed Doc Hunter as this great ambassador for humanity, and the princess? She was like a walking symbol of peace and cooperation between our kinds. Zorax scratched his chin thoughtfully. Still must have been a hell of a culture shock for her. Earth's a far cry from what she's used to. I would think so, but she took to it like a fish to water, Fenris replied. The doc gave her the grand tour, hospitals, schools, landmarks, the whole shebang. She was blown away by how diverse and resilient humans are. No kidding, Zorax mused. What impressed her the most? Fenris pondered for a moment. Hard to say. She loved seeing all the different cultures living together in the big cities, and she couldn't get enough of human art and music. But you know what really got her? What's that? The way complete strangers would go out of their way to help each other, Fenris said. She saw it everywhere, people holding doors, giving up seats, even risking their necks for someone they didn't know. Reminded her of the doc. Huh? Zorax grunted. Guess there's more to humans than meets the eye. You're telling me, Fenris agreed. By the time she left, the princess and Doc Hunter were thick as thieves, called him the embodiment of humanity's best qualities, selflessness, compassion, courage, said she'd never forget what he taught her. Zorax's eyes widened, his brow furrowing. But that can't be it. There has to be more to their story. Fenris sighed, a melancholy smile on his lips. I wish there was, my friend, but sometimes life doesn't give us the fairy tale endings we hope for. I just can't believe the princess would give up on him like that, Zorax persisted, his voice tinged with disbelief. After everything they went through together. Fenris leaned back, his gaze distant. It wasn't an easy choice for either of them. The princess agonized over it for weeks, torn between her love for the doctor and her duty to her people. And Dr. Hunter, how did he take it? He was heartbroken, of course, but he understood. He knew that their love, as strong as it was, couldn't overcome the obstacles they faced. Zorax shook his head, his expression crestfallen. I just can't imagine having to make that kind of sacrifice, to walk away from someone you love. Fenris reached out, placing a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. It's the price of leadership, Zorax. The princess knew that her people needed her, that she couldn't abandon them for her own happiness. But still, Zorax argued, couldn't they have found a way? I mean, if anyone could make it work, it would be a human, right? Fenris chuckled softly, a hint of irony in his voice. Humans are remarkable, Zorax, but they're not infallible. They have their limits, just like the rest of us. Zorax fell silent, his gaze fixed on the table. After a long moment, he spoke again, his voice quiet. Do you think they'll ever see each other again? Fenris smiled, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. I'd like to think so. The universe has a way of bringing people back together, even when it seems impossible. Zorax nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. I hope you're right, Fenris, I really do. The two friends sat in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. The story of the princess and the doctor had touched them both, a reminder of the power of love, sacrifice, and the indomitable human spirit. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.